What's up, guys? Sim here with a new video. Today we're here to talk about why GOUKI won not only the North American World Championship qualifier, but also won the European Nationals, which just took place, the European Championship, which just took place today. Pretty crazy. This deck basically skyrocketed to the best deck of the format. It was perceived that the deck was definitely going to perform, but we weren't sure if it was going to, own up to the hype and win it all. But not only did it do it once, it did it twice, 2 weekends in a row. What I have in front of you guys is, of course, Gabe Vargas's first place list. The live profile you guys already know, originally recorded by my brother Sam. We have it on my channel, Johnny's channel, a lot of other channels. We unfortunately were not able to do a live profile with Gabe after the event. The paperwork they had to sign for Japan and everything took way too long, got way too late, and we were asked to leave the event hall. But Sam, of course, having room with him and whatnot, was able to record it and send us our way, so we really appreciate it. We'll go over his list real quick. I basically just want to touch upon the basic GOUKI stuff and then go into why this deck won both events. I think it's absolutely nuts that the deck won not only one Nationals, but basically two, and the players that are going to the World Championship played the deck, so it's pretty crazy. We're just going to get into it. Gabe's deck, if you guys saw the profile, and a lot of people were saying, there were a lot of jokes in the deck profile and stuff like that, and they didn't really take it serious. But remember, that's our national champion. He clearly did something right, and his ratios, are his own preference. I'll go into, just the GOUKIs in general, and then, it's up to you, like, as GOUKI players, and you'll see in other lists, the ratios they choose, if they're the same or if they're different. One thing I'll note right here, though, is we do not have Luke Park's list just yet. Once we do, I will link it in the description below, so pay attention to that, because I won't be showing it in this video because we don't know the exact numbers he used, but as soon as we know, we'll have it in the description so you guys can open the comments to why his list did as well as it did. So yeah, we'll get into it. So for the monsters, there was the 1 Bear Hug, the 2 Scorpio, the 3 Suprex, the 2 Twist Cobra, the 1 Headbat, the 2 Octostretch, the 2 Rematch. Those are basically all the GOUKI cards. Pretty standard. I know some ratios change. Some players play more, some players play less. I think it's just up to personal preference of what you're trying to achieve. I know a lot of GOUKI players said you want to try to minimize the GOUKIs if it's possible, but I feel you need them all at one point or so in the game because they have to activate their effects to search. So that's pretty much all the GOUKIs. The extender cards, he just played 3 Junk Forward. I know some lists play Marauding Captain. Again, I don't know if Luke's list played that, but the Junk Forward's very simple. You just special it, get your combo going because you have that and another warrior. You make Invoker that that, or you link up into Izolde, etc. It's pretty crazy. Very standard, though. And Marauding Captain is, of course, the other option people have. Hand Traps, you have the 3 Ash Blossom, and Gabe only played 2 Joel and Lockbird. He said 5 was the perfect number, as an opinion. I know a lot of lists go the extra route and play the 3rd Joel and Lockbird. It's just personal preference. Even Jay Quincy's list played 3 Ghost Ogre in the main because he expected a lot of mirror matches. So I feel like, again, it's all up to personal preference. And then, of course, the 1 Ibli, because Ibli, is necessary for the Nightmare combos. We already talked about the rematch, but other extenders, there's a 3 Instant Fusion. It gets the Dragoness out of the out of the extra deck, and it being a warrior, it being a 3, that plus Junk Forward equals Invoker equals combo, etc. You have the 1 Rhoda, searches everything, the 1 Soul Charge, which is game. Then for the Sky Striker card, he just plays the 3 Engage and the 3 Hornet. The 1 card that stood out to me that he played was the 1 Eagle Booster. Now this card is not really seen in like a lot of lists, but it's used, its utility is actually there if you actually think about it. It's like another copy of Called by the Grave. Basically what it does is, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you target 1 face-up card on the field. Target is unaffected by card effects until this turn. If you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, it can't be destroyed by battle this turn. The way I look at this card is I'm assuming Gabe used it as another version, quote-unquote, is Called by the Grave on Izolde. If the opponent tried to Ash the second effect to send the equip, you just activate this and then, continue playing the game. And it's pretty nuts because the best place to Ash is to Ash the Izolde second effect. So that was interesting for sure. Already mentioned Call by the Grave. This card is nuts and absolutely a staple 3 in GOUKI because the main thing that stops you is hand traps. This can get everything except infinite and impermanence. So basically you just, Call by the Grave on any of the hand traps and you continue playing. You board your opponent and you win. Monster Reborn, like Soul Charge, another extender once you've established some monsters already. And then the 2 equips, he plays the 1 Phoenix Blade, which is standard. Then he plays the 1 Noble Arms, which is basically a Twin Twister. I know some people play Living Fossil. I think a lot of lists actually played Living Fossil, but they're either playing Living Fossil or this. I know players back in the day used to play Moonmere Shield, but have since dropped that and dropped Axe of Fools and gone over to this Noble Knight card, or if they're not playing this, they're playing the Living Fossil. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of the main deck. Extra deck is pretty straightforward. You have your instant fusion target, your invoker, your firewall, which is basically game, your Trigate, which locks pretty much the U board and also just creates another negate. Then you play the nightmare cards, the unicorn, the phoenix, the Cerebus, the double goblin. Double goblin is necessary for combos in the deck. The 2 Isolde, it gets everything started. The 1 Underclock, this card was interesting. A lot of players were catching on how good this card was. Not only does it help you create the U board, but it also makes it so that you're able to, sometimes if you're going second, you're able to just, make an opponent's monster 0, then just punch over it for game. Pretty crazy. You're playing the Sky Striker cards, so Kagari is the correct choice. You're not going to play Shizuku because you're not going to be really going past 1 turn if you can help it, and Kagari just helps you get back your Hornet drones or your engage, depending on what you're doing, and, continue playing those cards. Then the only difference in Europe is they played 2 copies of Mermaid because they do not have Link Karibo yet, but we have Link Karibo, so of course he played Link Karibo. But it was pretty cool how in Europe they just played the two mermaids, and that's how they extra linked you, so pretty nuts. But that's extra deck. We'll cover the side just a little bit. There was Cherries, the 3rd Joel, the Cowboy. The main card we're going to talk about right here is the Gumbler Dragon and the 2 Drag Downs. Then you just had another target for the Sky Striker cards, Twisters for back row decks, and Permanents to stop effects. And of course, we'll get an Aqua Dolphin. But that's basically the rundown of Gabe's deck. And now to talk about why this deck won not only the North American World Championship qualifier, but why it also won the European Championship. We're going to start with the first things. Everyone thought Sky Striker Trickstar was going to win the event. Everyone thought it was going to win both events originally. And this clearly changed after our nationals. Everyone was favoring either GOUKI or Sky Striker Trickstar, and overall GOUKI is just a superior deck. What it's able to do, being able to produce the U board, being able to just run over all the Trickstar cards, makes it insane. And, Trickstar Light Stage is completely dead against this deck unless you're making them set for Fear of Reincarnation and you actually get past another turn. It makes a lot of cards dead in the matchup. Also, Trickstars don't really do much. I played the deck. It's very linear. Summon Candina, search a Lycra, search a Reincarnation. You're not doing much unless you resolve Scapegoat. If you resolve Scapegoat, of course it opens up a whole new dimension and makes the ceiling a lot higher for the deck, but it doesn't happen all the time. And if you're going first, usually, you're not being able to resolve Scapegoat or make any of your link plays, so you don't really end that strong, whereas GOUKI can just U-board you and you just lose. I think overall, most players have established that it just has one of the best Trickstar Sky Striker matchups, and it's basically free, and for that reason, it is obviously going to do a lot better in a big tournament, and it's, clearly it's going to perform as well as it did. That's one of the reasons. One of the other reasons is that this deck is very consistent. It's a combo deck, and it's a very consistent combo deck. A combo deck plus consistency is insane. What it works to establish, the U-board, it's nuts. And by doing that, you basically lock your opponent out of playing the game. They can't play the game. They can't access their extra deck. It's a very hard, board to break. Basically impenetrable with the effects of the Nightmare monsters. And the opponent just kind of left dumbfounded if they don't have a hand trap or anything to stop it. I was on the receiving end of this deck at Nationals. It absolutely destroyed me. I only played 1 and it destroyed me. I drew no hand traps. I didn't have anything to stop the opponent. So I feel like that was just one of the main reasons why, the deck won not only our Nationals, but also won the European Championship. The deck just overall accomplishes a lot and does it very consistently and does it pretty much every game. It gets to play every game unless it bricks. Another reason, this deck is able to chain block. Now, that's something that I don't think a lot of people pay attention to, but the more you play against it, the more you'll see. They're able to create their chain links the way they want, and that way you're not able to Ash, or you're not able to Ogre certain things, you're not able to, chain Droll at the right time, etc. And because of that, I feel the deck is extremely strong. Chain blocking is nuts in this game, and being able to chain block your opponent out of using hand traps is nuts. I feel that because of that, that's another main factor. I think a lot of players were not, prepared for that. They were not prepared for chain blocking. They were not prepared for, your hand traps, sitting there thinking you're fine, and then your opponent chain blocks you and you can't do anything. It's pretty nuts. And then your Ash is then a lot weaker, or you don't activate it at all. It's pretty crazy. I feel like the only time where the hand traps really get them, of course, is Droll early game, or Ash on the second effect of Azolde, and then of course Ghost Ogre when they go Mermaid, Chainlink 1, Firewall, Chainlink 2, and you chain the Ghost Ogre to get rid of the Firewall, because then they're really behind. I'm pretty sure they can keep playing, they will not be able to create like a big U board or whatnot unless they have like Monster Reborn or something, or a way to get Firewall back on the board. But I mean, that's another thing I feel was one of the reasons, is not only is it a strong, consistent deck, but it can also chain block. That's pretty nuts. Another reason why I feel this deck won just overall is its matchups against everything else. You count Pure Sky Striker, Burning Abyss, Paleozoics, everything we saw like at the European Championship, at Nationals, etc., Pendulums. The deck is just superior. The deck does so much. Being able to just, create the U-board, and if it doesn't create the U-board, it might be able to just kill you going second, especially because they play hand traps too, because they might stop you. You'll end on a weak play, and then they'll just push back with everything they have and just win the game. So I feel that that's another reason why the deck won. And the last couple reasons, Gumblar Dragon, this card is nuts. It was really hyped right before our Nationals because it was legal for our Nationals. This card basically rips apart your opponent's hand, but it was interesting. A lot of the players side decked this card. They felt that the U board was strong enough to, win the game. And then game 2 or game 3, depending on what they felt like, they could bring in Gumblar to just, take away the opponent's whole hand, and then they can't play the game. Being able to have access to a card like this and be able to make it quite easily is pretty nuts. And I feel that this was another reason why the deck won, is it had access to something that not a lot of decks did. And the effect of Gumblar Dragon is absolutely insane. Plus it can deal 3,000 depending on the situation. So take that all into account when playing this deck, is not only can they U-board you, but they can Gumblar just destroy your hand and burn you to death. So that's pretty crazy. And then it comes down, another reason is to cards you play in addition to Called by the Grave that basically stop your opponent's hand traps. And one of these cards that actually won our Nationals, Gabe won our Nationals with his Drag Down to the Grave. As a Dark World player from back in the day, you guys already know I love this card. I think this card is nuts. Basically, you look at your opponent's hand, take away a hand trap or something that might hinder you, pray to God they don't draw another card, and you just keep playing. So that's basically how it goes. He took away Infinite Impermanence in the finals. His opponent did not draw another hand trap, and he got U-boarded, and that was game. And this card is pretty nuts. I think the fact that you can just take away any problematic card in your opponent's hand is nuts. And just being able to see what your opponent has, play around what they have, and, you'll even see if they have Sphere Mode or whatnot. You can just take Sphere Mode away. If, it's game 2 or whatever, you just take it away, and then they can't even use it against you. So that's pretty nuts. I think that was another reason why this deck won, is because it innovated an old card that actually does so much. And I will talk about, of course, the last reason, and the elephant in the room, actually the dolphin in the room. The card that won the European Nationals today was actually Neospatian Aqua Dolphin. Yes, Jaden Yuki's card. This card actually did have a lot of hype at our Nationals. I don't think a lot of people knew. I actually heard about this card like a couple days before, and how it was going to change GOUKI, because it was basically another Called by the Grave / Drag Down into the Grave. Because basically you summon it, you discard a card, you look at your opponent's hand, you choose a monster. If you control a monster with greater attack and then or equal to it, you inflict 500 to your opponent, and that's actually how Luke won. He used this against his opponent, took away his card, dealt damage to him, and he won in time. Now, granted, was not the intention of GOUKI's. That's not what GOUKI's do to win, but this was just the situation, and GOUKI's overall could have U-boarded the opponent. That would have been game either way. But I think the fact that this card was included is nuts, because not only does it have that ability to, take away your opponent's hand, but it's also a warrior, which means it's searchable by Rhoda, and it's also a level 3, which means it helps make Invoker and it helps make Azolde. I think that's nuts. I think the card has everything going for it in this deck. Some players are actually on the fence. They actually don't like this card, but I think for what it adds to the deck, the dimension it adds to the deck, the ceiling it raises to the deck, it's definitely worth trying out in the main deck. And clearly, you know, the ability to just have knowledge of what your opponent is playing and play around their hand and take away the cards that would hinder you is why the deck won overall. But that's basically it, you guys. Those are my thoughts. That is why I personally feel that GOUKI's won not only our North American World Championship qualifier, but also won the European Championship. I think the deck is nuts. The deck definitely needs to be respected, and people need to prepare more for this deck. I feel that as much, you know, as people were citing Sphere Mode, good GOUKI players were learning to play around it. I feel like Chain Blocking played around pretty much all the hand traps. Called by the Grave played around the hand traps. Aqua Dolphin played around the hand traps, and overall the deck performed and won both events. I think it's crazy. I think, unfortunately, for the time being, we're going to be in a GOUKI format. Sky Striker Trickstar, as good of a deck as it is, just could not, you know, be on par with the deck this time. The last thing I'll talk about is if you looked at the statistics from the European Championship, GOUKI was favored, number one. Number two, it was the most represented deck in the top cut, and I think that that alone shows you that how the tide has shifted. It used to be Sky Striker Trickstars as the number one represented deck and the deck that would win, and it switched to GOUKI, and sure enough, this happened. But I decided to combine them both because instead of doing just a one-by-one event, if a different deck won, GOUKI just took them both. So I figured let's talk about it in both videos. And again, I will have Luke Park's list linked below once the deck becomes a public knowledge. So just wait for that. Check back in a day or two, and I'm sure we'll have the list. But overall, those are my thoughts. I'm opening up the comments to you guys, what you guys think. If you guys think that GOUKI is the best deck, if it is the best deck, why? Why do you personally feel it won the event? Do you feel another deck should have won the event? Do you feel that we're going to have to just be more prepared for GOUKI in the future? Do you feel that GOUKI is going to get hit on the list outside of the oblivious firewall? This needs to go. This card has created so many problems in the past and now, and it's the main part of the combo. So take away this card, and I think a lot of decks will change. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like if you did, and if you want to see more videos like this from analysis from events and why a certain deck won the event. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.